La presentación del día, que es la Conferencia Magistral por el ingeniero Petrovic, a quien desde aquí quiero agradecerle porque se ha involucrado de una manera muy apasionada con el proyecto Hoyo Negro. Él viene de la Universidad de California, San Diego, llegó ayer por la noche tarde, está hoy y se regresa mañana, pero hay mucho trabajo que él está realizando todo el tiempo y trabajando muy de cerca con uno de los descubridores del sitio, que se llama el ingeniero Alberto Nava Blanc. Ellos trabajan de manera muy estrecha y vamos a ver una presentación que nos dice el proyecto Hoyo Negro, documentación digital y un acceso virtual a una cueva sumergida en Quintana Roo. Como les decía esta mañana, es un complemento de las nuevas tecnologías aplicada a un sitio tan complejo como Hoyo Negro, y vamos a poder viajar a través del sitio, entrar a las hendiduras y valorar quizá más el trabajo que está haciendo todo el equipo de Hoyo Negro. Gracias, Vid. Welcome.
Gracias. Tengo esto. Soy demasiado tímido para presentar en español, y también soy ingeniero y es mejor que no hable demasiado. Quería mostrar en vez de contar, si es posible. Okay, now in English for the rest. I will try to speak slowly. I tend to speak very, very quickly, so I will slow down. I'm doing that right now. Stop me if I go too fast. To begin with, we start with a bit of Spanish. There we go. We start with a bit of, I feel it is a bit relevant. Maybe has anyone not had a chance to finish reading it, or is not familiar with a very short story by Borges that I find relevant in a lot that we do when we're doing this virtual or digital imaging of sites. Okay, moving on. We'll be talking about the documentation, digital documentation of the site of Hoyo Negro, where we're taking all the photographs, all of the digital bits and pieces, and reassembling them into a representation of the site that we can then explore virtually, so that scientists like Jim can have access to the site and be able to do their work in an environment that they otherwise would have no ability to enter. First, let me kind of describe who we are. I'm Vid. As I said, I'm an engineer. I do computer graphics and visualization, which also means that I always work with others, always work for scientists. In the past, it has been neuroscientists and studying the brain. I've worked with archaeologists. I'm currently working with ecologists. So what I do is always in the background and always in support of what people like Jim here and Pilar do. Some of the other people who are very important to this project, involved with it, are Alberto Nava, and Roberto, who are the divers who do all of the imaging and do an amazing job that you'll kind of see and appreciate in a little bit. We have other scientists I've worked with thus far here, and we can just pull up all of those associations. And I bring this up because, to me, this aspect of the work, the collaboration, the bringing together of people with these different backgrounds, all come for a common cause, is a big part of what excites me. So I figured I'd mention and acknowledge here. And then I can also describe a little bit where I come from and what we do there. I mentioned here it's CHE, it's the Cultural Heritage Engineering Initiative. And there we kind of deploy engineers like me in support of science, in support of work that others are doing. And we're kind of judged by whether what we develop, what we build, we're engineers, we love to build things, whether it is useful to what they do. And we'll have some, there's more affiliations there, whereas this is actually at University of California, San Diego. And we have a whole bunch of other things going on here, including Drone Lab. Yes, we have people building flying things so that we can do imaging as well and do some more work there. But here, I think this might be familiar to Jim there. This is one of our massive visualization environments, and I can't tell from this angle what we're looking at. Can you, Jim? Well, it is at the cave, but which part? Well, we'll get there.
I can't tell you.
And I'm hidden there in the background. Jim is sandwiched in the middle. I'm not sure if you can see him. We can see what this visualization environment looks like from a different angle with a different data set. This is Florence, Italy. Here is Beto Nava, the diver, in a different visualization environment looking at the cave virtually. And just to show that this same place has a back as well, so you're fully immersed in this. So these are the fancy visualization environments. The other ones are things like this laptop or something you just tried right now, the head-mounted displays. Very important to the 3D reconstruction work that we do are all of these crazy computers with really fast GPUs and processors in them that we can leverage. So some of the time you can see that they're behind that wall. Some of the time they're driving that wall. When they're not, we're using them to reconstruct Hoyo Negro, as an example. So we run all of these machines with the orange. You see those are fiber optic connections between them, so that we can actually do these reconstructions very, very quickly, at least comparatively. Am I boring you yet? Or okay, moving on. This is our usual little thing, the circle of life for data. I'm not going to get into it right now. If we really want to discuss it later, we can. But the idea is that whenever we're working at a site somewhere, whether it's for a cultural heritage application like archaeology or art history or so on, or structural evaluation or so on, we have periods where we go to the site, we acquire data, then we manage and curate data, make sure that it's good quality. We analyze it, adds to it. We ultimately kind of disseminate it, share it with others. And then we kind of get back to there's a woo, there it goes. Get back to the acquisition stage, and it's just going to keep going. We keep building on the data that we have because that drives what imaging, what data acquisition gets done in the future. But before it gets too far afield, maybe I'll kind of mention how it is that we ended up working together. And kind of, we had it's actually through Dominique Risolo, who's one of the heads of the Cultural Heritage Engineering Initiative, and also a member of the project who has worked in Hoyo Negro. Through him, we came to understand that you had a bit of a technical problem with putting together a model, a reconstruction of the jaw, the mandible of Naya. And since we were working on developing kind of the tool sets and the processes for building such reconstructions from imagery, they just gave us a bunch of photographs that the divers took while underwater on a little turntable, and they had to flip the jaw over so that we'd see both sides. Teeth fell out. It was pretty bad, but we took the images, we did the reconstruction, we cleaned it up, we used the software that we had been developing to make sure that it's the right size, it's the right scale, and the whole point of this, maybe Jim can best describe with the other microphone, because what happened afterwards is kind of interesting. So we have this digital model. Yeah.
The problem was, initially we made the models of Naya's skull when we weren't really expecting to ever bring Naya out of Hoyo Negro. The intent was to try and study her in place and to study the fossil animals in place. But it became clear that we couldn't do all the studies we had hoped to do that way. But we had put Naya away in a box, her skull and mandible in a box inside the cave, and put a stand-in in her place. And when it became necessary, it became clear that divers who were not authorized to be in the site were invading the site and causing damage to Naya's skeleton. The decision was made to collect her bones, and we began with the bones that had been damaged already by divers, which included the mandible here. But we needed to recover them in much the way I showed this morning, where we needed to make a box that was just the right size, that mandible or the skull would not move at all while being collected and transported out through this extremely rugged jungle road. We have a road there now that is probably 10 times better, and it's still terrible. So what we did with the model then that Vid produced was make copies, physical copies, that then could be used to create a recovery box that would perfectly fit Naya.
I can continue here. And one of the fun things is you see that there's 3 prints here. So the ones down there were made in Washington State. We made the print up there. Since it's a digital model, we can get as many copies of Naya's jaw as we want or as we need. But so this kind of started us off. There was a specific problem that needed to be solved. We needed to be able to make a physical copy of the jaw from the photographs with reasonable certainty that is the right size. And it was a stressful process, because it's easy to make a model in a sense. You run it and oh, it looks fine. But to be able to commit to it being the right geometry, the right size, it takes a little more methodology. But in the end, all it was is we produced this model. This was suitable for printing, and we're done. It's actually conceptually rather simple. We also, while we're there, got some additional imagery from the divers of the context for the bones. They took a bunch of other pictures in the area with a nice camera, hundreds of pictures surrounding Naya there. And here, let me just barge on ahead. We also ran those using a similar methods, and we got a reconstruction like this. And this is from the photographs of the context. And we see some bones here. Maybe, again, you have the microphone. You can tell me what they are. I'm going to get it wrong.
The humerus. This is the upper arm bone.
And here also bone? Or, yeah. And it's kind of nice. We can go through and fly around. And one note here is this is somewhere around 800 million points from a couple of hundred images. And this is still kind of like what we just saw over here, a model. Look, it's floating in space. Is this disconnected from everything? This one we had an excuse because we actually needed to be able to print it, to build it. But here it's provides a bit of context for some of these bones, and they have been removed since, right? But it's still, look at this, there's kind of in the blackness of space. Well, now that we've gotten here, I'll actually take a little pause and try to explain why I included that little bit of Borges at the beginning. Because to me, and I've been working it's kind of surprising, for over a decade in this field, doing this stuff, building this software. And this is one of the kind of consistent issues that come up, and difficulties, conceptual difficulties. And it's the differences between the terrain, what's kind of the, wrong button, reality, images of that reality, and models or maps. And so what's the terrain? It's what's real. This is the site itself. Hoyo Negro out there, there's certain things that are there, there's certain things that are not. That's reality. That's what we're always trying to figure out. This is what we're trying to document. We're trying to understand what's out there. We're trying to offer explanations, interpretations. But it's on its own, of course, I'm speeding up, I apologize, it has no interpretation, has no meaning on its own. Now, images, so imágenes, they're derived from the reality in some mechanical direct process. So I take a camera, there's a relationship between what you record and what's there. So it's just a bunch of data, a bunch of measurements that are taken. And it's in general incomplete because you take a picture, you only see what you see, you don't see the stuff that's behind it, you don't see anything else, just a little part. It's approximate. Think of the resolution of the picture. If you're up close, you have good quality. If you're far away, it's low. And there might be distortions of all sorts. I can think of a bad camera or so on. And so you could say that maybe these are interpretations, but there's no humans involved. There's still no meaning. It's mechanical. And so there's a direct relationship with the images and terrain. And then finally, models or maps, we derive from either images or the terrain. We could go out there. And they are what's actually most interesting to us. They're interpretations. They're our analysis. They're what archaeologists are trying to come up with. And this is, so if I make a map or if I make a model, it's useful for something. So for example, the model we made of the jawbone was useful for, we could print it, and then we could make that box. We could take the jawbone out, and we can also test whether it was good or not, because it has a purpose. So that's for the models there. And so just to quickly, very quickly, as an example, Mexico City, terrain. Well, I can't show you anything, because to observe it or do anything with it, you have to go there. Because if I show you a picture, that's an image, that's not the terrain. So this is the first key part, is even when you go there, if you get tricky with it, if I go there, if I manipulate it, if I touch it, if I measure it, it's still not direct access to the reality. I'm still doing it through some measurement, to some imaging, but this is philosophical, leave it alone. But still, we can have images. This is very, very simple. It's a photograph here. We can have other types of imagery as well. Could be some sort of radar instrument that we use, some sort of data. We could then work to enrich it, figure out where this was taken from, but it's just a bunch of samples of kind of light falling on a surface. That's our image there. And maps. So I just pulled from Google Maps on the left one kind of a map, which seems geographical. It could tell you how far things are. It's useful for navigating. On the right, there's the subway map. There's no sense of distances really or any geometric relationships, but you can use it to navigate the metro. So it's for a different purpose, just as our jawbone is for a specific purpose. These two maps are for different purposes. Now, the people who maintain the metro system need a different type of information, different type of model. And all of it is a tiny fraction of the true reality of that network. So my apologies for showing something completely different, but I thought that maybe it might help to show another example. Now we're getting to, this is also why I picked Mexico City. What is this? This is actually a reconstruction, a 3D point cloud that my colleagues did after the earthquake. My advisor and his wife are both actually structural engineers. So after the earthquake, they sent a team with drones flying around to record the state of the buildings and to help figure out which buildings survived, which didn't, to document that. And so this is another application of the system. And this is one view we made using this software that looks kind of like a photograph here. You can tell there's actually little gaps over there. Back in the park, stuff is missing. But where there's coverage, there's information. So what is this? It looks like it's an image, and I'm going to say, yeah, it is an image, of course. But over here, this, and let me give it away, we have scale. We know where on the planet it is. We know which way is north. We can have people, or we can cross-correlate with known locations of streets. So it's also a map. So we can use it as a map. We can treat it as a map, and this is an image here, and this is a map here. So what's going on? And basically, it's a little bit of both. It is whatever you use it as. Technically, all it is information that's automatically derived from images that are taken, from photographs that are taken from the flying thing. So it's an image. But we can use that image, the reconstruction, and all of the other images in there to produce maps, to produce models, to fit models to it, to make sense of the imagery. And the most important part here, though, is it's not really fitting it to the imagery. We're really fitting the models to the underlying reality, to the terrain, through the imagery. And here I can just kind of summarize this. Oh yeah, I said this is through photogrammetry. So we take a bunch of pictures, use math to reconstruct a 3D representation of the site. And and here. So what I just said is that we have images now that we can use to produce many different kinds of maps and models with different interpretations. And we have been developing software to let us do this, to go from the imagery, to go from this representation of the reality to these other products, these other maps. And conceptually, it lets us look at the terrain, look at the site itself through the images that have been captured, and to develop the tools that are most useful to the people doing the looking, like Jim, that help them do their work using the information that's there. And I'm going to kind of stop boring you and get back to the more interesting stuff. So I showed you this little island. We actually have another island that's also Naya, more bones of Naya. Which ones are these then? Okay. Femur. So we have one, we have another. Then in a heroic effort, Beto and others, but Beto spearheading it, took thousands of images over how many years? 2 or 3 years? 3 years. To give us this, and let me actually turn this thing on, and I can turn the dots on here, to get us this view of the floor. And each of these dots here is one picture. And it took Beto 1 to 2 minutes to take each picture because it's black, it's dark in Hoyo Negro, so there's nothing there. So now we have this context, but if we go and, am I looking in the right place even? To find Naya? Yeah, I'm going to cheat. There we go. Oh, there we go. Here, there we go. You can see a little bit out of these thousands of pictures, all taken from far away in that pattern that you saw. You can kind of make out what's happening there. But since we have that higher resolution bit of that context, we can drop that in. And now we have both the high resolution detail of the bones and the context here. So now we can see what the relationship between one of these islands that I showed and the other is. And I think that now we might turn to doing a virtual tour of Hoyo Negro, if Jim is willing. Oh, okay.
Let's start at the rim of the tunnel.
Okay.
Let's begin to swim inside. Let's go down the tunnel a little ways, even for fun. Start over by Ishbalam and work your way through. Yeah, there you go. Okay. And now take your plunge.
Oh, let's go. Look at that.
There we go.
I could even flip us over.
Yeah.
Which way would you like to go first?
Swim past Naya where you saw it before so they can get a sense of the context. Okay. There she is.
Actually, the mandibles was wedged here between a couple of these. Okay. But we're just showing it kind of floating outside.
Because they were moved before the photographs were taken.
Yeah.
But when you pull back from this a little bit, when you zoom down in, you can see how these two skeleton sections of the skeleton, a little farther back so we can see the legs too, are related to each other. And if we look at them from the same level, and we can rotate laterally to the level, we can tell that they're on this at the same elevation.
1 second. I made a mistake there. Okay. And here, let me.
Yeah.
You can actually get these cross-section views and show that in fact they are at the same altitude, same depth. That's about.
Same altitude. What that tells us is that Naya's body was floating in water, and that she came up to the edge of the water once, her legs stayed behind, they drifted farther away, and then her arms and her torso were dropped, and then her skull and upper shoulder floated a bit farther and was left behind, and then a section of ribs drifted even more. So her body drifted in a pool of water that remained constant at the time she was decomposing. So this tells us when we learned how long ago that the sea level rose permanently above that level, we know that she died at least 10,000 years ago, because that's when that level was permanently underwater. Okay, now let's come back up and let's go over and visit. Let's go visit Sloth 1. That's the first pocket over here on the right. This is Sloth 2. Over here. Mm-hmm.
It's one of the more recent data sets.
Perezoso 1.
Cada uno de estos componentes está basado en fotos, haciendo modelos 3D. Antes de tocar cualquier resto, vestigio prehistórico, se toman muchísimas fotos. How many photos per?
So for each of the areas, a couple of hundred photos. For the overview, 2,000 or so.
Ajá. Más o menos 200 fotos para la vista general. And how many points?
For all of this, it's 8.5 billion.
8.5 millones o billones.
Billones.
Billones de
Miles
puntos.
de millones.
Sí, miles de millones de puntos para poder hacer este recorrido. Entonces, estamos viendo cómo realmente, por ejemplo, lo que nos presentaron del cuerpo de Naya, cuando cayó Naya, su cuerpo se fue hacia la orilla y se fue descomponiendo, perdiendo músculo, carne, tendones, nervios, etcétera, y fue quedando. Por eso queda primero la parte de las piernas y la pelvis, unos metros más adelante, pero al mismo nivel está el torso con costillas, vértebras, etcétera, y un poquitito más adelante está el cráneo y el húmero y la escápula. Entonces, realmente es con base al trabajo en campo y luego al trabajo con las nuevas tecnologías y los softwares que BID usa e inventa y aplica, que podemos ver cada objeto no es correcto, cada vestigio en su contexto. ¿Okay?
Aquí vemos a pelvis de perezoso de Shasta y directamente, no como si behind it, atrás, el fémoro. Come closer, Vid. Close in. El fémoro. El captura fémoro. Inmediatamente. No es posible verlo con foto directamente arriba. No es posible. Con modelo 3D es posible para los científicos ver que los buzos no pueden ver allá. Okay. Now take us down again to the right of it, to the right side of it, right there on the high, right there. El cráneo del perezoso, cráneo y mandíbula. 2 días pasados hemos recuperado estos huesos. Y perezoso, es posible, también es posible, también es posible para ver esta pieza de madera inmediatamente sobre el hueso. Es más joven que el hueso. Tan es el fecha posible para fecharlo para edad mínimo. con este modelo es posible ver es directamente en contacto. En contacto. Now, swing down to the left further.
Left.
Go over down here. Go past the pelvis. Come back higher so we can see where we're going. Just maybe a little higher.
And let's see whether you have annotations in there as well.
What's that?
Let's see-
Oh, notations?
Yeah.
No, those are permanently on your screen, aren't they? Well, S60, that's just the sin sacrum of the Perezoso Grande. But come back to the left here. Keep going. And otro animal aquí. Where does you need to back up a little bit, I guess. I lost track. Oh, there it is. Arriba.
Yeah.
Direct them in centro arriba by the card. By the card. See? Un cráneo y húmero de un oso. Es oso número 6. Okay, you wanna?
Want to go to the saber-tooth?
Let's go visit the saber-tooth. Okay.
Es interesante e importante entender que esto no lo pueden ver ni los espeleobusos que están en el sitio. Esto solamente a través de este sistema, de este uso de softwares, podemos entrar a ver realmente qué huesos están. Y bueno, la experiencia del doctor Chatters nos dicen, ahí está un cráneo de un oso y ahí está un fémur, ¿eh? Pero es impresionante que primero a través de la foto simple ya identifica y luego a través de modelos 3D pueden entrar mucho más, y una vez que se postprocesa en la computadora con este tipo de softwares, de programas, pueden ahora sí ver directamente qué hay. Y esto último que acaba de explicar fue hace 3 días, ¿sí? Jim llegó también ayer a mediodía, viene del trabajo de campo, que estamos ahorita en plena temporada, y se está encontrando esto y apoyándonos con la high technology. Ahora sí estamos pudiendo ver mucho más a fondo la realidad entre esas grietas en un terreno tan complejo como Hoyo Negro.
Okay, so I showed that I can take out this cranium, and we did this actually last night over dinner. I just went through and I painted on it. Here I'm erasing it. So this is one of the tools that we developed for it. We can go through and I just can go and paint parts of the data set, and those parts will actually, we can then take them apart. And here, it's an interesting thing here. Look, I made a mistake. I got some extra bits there. I can clean that up. And in fact, we can have multiple kinds of marks. Let me see what this, we have this red in here. And we can then select out just one of them, because we can associate the meeting with these different pieces. So all of the bones, we can go through and assign what their kind of anatomical name is, which animal we believe it belongs to. And once we've done that, we can kind of treat them separately. And so once we've done this, we can actually, right now, if I just do Control S, I'll save a subpoint cloud, and we can then create a mesh out of that and do whatever other analysis we want to do outside of this software, because this is what kind of the point. There's many pieces of good software out there. The one that I'm developing lets us deal with the raw data, but isn't trying to do everything for everyone. So therefore, we make it easy to generate other data sets that we can then do further work with. But let me go back here, and I can also turn off the green and just show it like that. So this is one of the fun features there. And I'll actually take a note that Jim likes to point out the differences between high-tech and low-tech. And low-tech is often the kind of the clever. You think about what you can do to solve the problem that you have. And high-tech is, the technology just does it. And if it doesn't, you're angry at it. What I find interesting is that a lot of what we do with this system is kind of has a high-tech basis, but we can use it in a very low-tech way. you can kind of use it just by looking at things, by doing this. Let's do a cross section like this, and I'm going to cut down the size of the cross section, and we can then just look at the grid here. And in fact, I'm going to just go over there and show what I mean. Like this, I can go and turn the grid on, and we can now measure the cranium by reading off the tick marks. Now, of course, we have to be careful to align it correctly so that it makes anatomical sense. And I'm getting very confused by it. Let's see here.
There. Yeah.
Let me just give myself a little more room. Okay, we do this. We do, okay, I think there we go. That's what's happening.
This also allows us to see, when you look at the
I
the
know what
top,
it is.
you can see the teeth broken off at the top.
So right here?
No, at the other end.
Yeah, I'm turning it.
The mouth end there,
Yeah.
yeah. The teeth are broken. We know that we recovered this skull 3 days ago, and we knew beforehand that tooth, that diagonal right below the X there, right there, that tooth had fallen free from the skull, and the other teeth are very, very easily broken. So we know that characteristic, and we need to plan. We need to alert the divers to that problem, and they need to be ready for it. And they were. They had a little jar to catch the broken pieces as they fell away as they lifted the specimen. So there's so many things we can do with this. And let's go back to the first model vid, this one here, yeah. And come back and above it, directamente. Let's zoom a bit farther back so I can see where we are. Okay. Center about a quarter of the way up, just above your X there.
Around there?
Those bones there. Okay. Yeah, the femur. See it right there? No, right above that.
Actually, I
The
should be
straight
looking at
bone.
the screen. Yeah, I see it.
Okay, that one. Es posible en este modelo ver porque es difícil para ver huesos o rocas. Mismo color, mismo forma. Pero en este, look at this one. Get close, Vid. Come in close. Okay. See? What do I say? See? Vean. Las líneas es una indicación de fracturas. Y en realidad, Blaine no viste este problema. Y cuando Beto fue recuperando este hueso, estaba roto, sí. We have the tool. Tenemos esta herramienta. Es necesario para usarlo, ¿sí?
Sí.
Antes recuperarse. One more thing to look at, and I'll show what this has done, what it's allowed us to do. Zoom down to bear one. You know where that is? It's where the two sets of pelvis are, the bare pelvis
so
and legs.
By the cat?
Or
the other
past
side?
the cat.
So,
Back in the corner.
Oh, so the big with the this guy?
Other side. No, that's.
no,
That's another story.
Oh, that's a fun story.
Go in here.
Which one did you? Bear one?
Okay, go to the right. Go
So
derecho.
is bear one?
Derecha. Right there.
So this one?
That's bear one.
Oh, the guano covered.
No.
No?
It's bear five.
Okay, so that's
one
by
right
the
there.
cat. Yeah,
You got it. Okay.
It's by
Going
the
down.
puma. Yeah.
Okay. Right there to the left. You can see the pelvis. El pelvis de un oso adulto con fémur derecha y izquierda. Y down below, just come down, move more slowly. Down in there. Con este modelo, descubrimos un otro animal. Do you have the numbers on this?
Sí.
Do you have numbers?
Yeah. Let me
Pop
pull
the
them up.
numbers in and we'll find it. Come down. Humorous.
There it is.
Small Carney, right there. See? Coming closer so it can be shown up. Okay. La nariz de un carnívoro pequeño. Posible un zorro. Pero no es posible ver sin este modelo. Okay. Now, let's just invite.
Yeah, we can invite. Or do you want to show the spirothems or the
Oh, yeah,
sampling,
yeah.
and we can do it?
One more use of this model. Esta equipo temporada. Esta temporada. Planeamos recuperar stalagmitas. Stalagmitas. Para estudiar nivel del mar, cambios en el nivel del mar y la clima. So, Trish Beddoes, nuestra geoquímica, y yo past tense. Estudiamos, okay. Este modelo para seleccionarlo. Y in unos casos, go to the deep ones where the model's not very clear.
Let's pull this.
Okay,
Yeah.
this one.
We'll show it, but we can
So,
demonstrate then.
From this, en este modelo es posible para medir
One moment.
y planear cuánto flotación, piezas de flotación necesitamos.
Y las muestras que se van a tomar, ¿no? Y las muestras que se van a tomar.
Sí. Okay. Y
But we can
What
we can also show all of the original images that were taken for it, and you can see
yeah.
that here it's because this is the blue overview model. It's not the high resolution that we have. There isn't enough overlap for us to do this. To study them better, we can pull up all of the original images, and this is what I'm doing right now. I'm showing them.
Okay.
So this is the point that was selected, and I can flip through all the photographs in which that point is visible. And whilst we're here, I can go through and double-click within this image and navigate around. I actually need to turn the cams on for this. There we go.
what we failed to think about, Trish and I, when we
There we
chose
go.
this particular stalagmite, was that there's a pit next to it, un hoyo.
Actually, I need
And the divers cannot go in that pit to retrieve the stalagmite once they break it free. So it's easily broken, but not easily recovered. So it's no longer a candidate. But
Let's go to one of the deeper ones, though. Is
yeah, okay.
you want the one that falls there, or the one that's really far over here? Because both of them
How
would
about
fall into
one of those? Because one of those that we chose, yeah, that you can't really see until you bring in the photos.
Yeah, here. I'm gonna go to the right. Maybe this
But-
one.
One thing to point out is this model and this means of manipulating the model is VID's development. This is not off-the-shelf technology.
And you can see that even in the photographs, even in the raw photographs, it's kind of at the limit of being able to discern anything.
Now give us a cross section of it so you can see, we can see how tall it is, even though we can't see it very well
Yeah.
in the pictures.
But here we can definitely do it
There.
this way and
It's
show
much
it.
more easily seen this way.
Yeah. We can also do a cross section from above.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I guess we can start wrapping up the tour. Yeah, I know. So if anyone wants to ask any questions or to see any part of the site, please. Either will work. Someone will help me out, I hope.
¿Cuál minuto?
Where's the
¿Cuál
microphone?
minuto?
Porque si no, no sale nada.
No tenemos mucho tiempo. Ahorita nos va a dar un mensaje la licenciada Zamora. Entonces vamos a tratar de hacer unas cuantas preguntas muy concretas.
Sí.
Estoy segura que después los expertos que están trabajando con otros softwares podrán platicar directamente conmigo, ¿no? Adelante, Diana.
I am sure that Jim and you can show us how the animals fell down to the Hoyo Negro, because I think it's one of the general questions that everybody wants to know.
How they ended up in there in the first place?
Exactly, because you have a general, you just show us a partial view of the bones, but if we see the general view, you can show us how they fell down, or the animals.
Oh, well, I mean, this sounds like it's not an engineering question, so I'll defer to the
Oh, I
scientist.
see. Okay. What she wants to see, take a look at it, is a view from the rim of the tunnel straight down, and then we'll look at it from the side. So an animal has come and walked over to stand on this edge.
Hold on one second, I need to. There we go.
Okay.
Turn it all
Now, as we look down here, mira azul.
Huh?
We need the lights off again.
Donde se ve azul más profundo, en la parte más honda
Sí.
de la cámara, del pozo.
Y los huesos son en esta área azul. In the perimeter, the edges.
En las orillas de lo más profundo,
Yeah.
están hacia la orilla de la parte sur del pozo, de la cámara. La mayoría de los huesos, la mayoría de los restos de animales.
Azul fue agua. Los animales probablemente buscaban agua. The Yucatán es un colandro.
Es como una
Un
coladera,
coladera, sí.
es un piso kárstico que no permite que quede agua en la superficie, todo se resume. Entonces, por eso están en el fondo y posiblemente tanto Naya como los animales entraron por los túneles que estaban secos, tanto para refugiarse como para buscar agua.
Now, an animal walking through the tunnel, caminando en el túnel, en todo oscuro. One more step. 30 metros en agua es como concrete. Como piedra.
Una caída, o sea, se venían caminando por el túnel y no vieron, porque está totalmente oscuro, una caída a 30 metros es como caer en concreto.
And I'll go to English here rather than torture you with my Spanish anymore. Even if they went through the water instead of slapping into it like cement, they would have struck stones underneath the water. And we see fractured bones in many of the animals, Naya included. So they simply fell into a deep pool of water, and almost every animal has at least one bone perched on the wall somewhere at that same level, at 40 meters below sea level. You can see it right here. Right there. So is there anything anyone would like to look at? We have perezosos grandes, osos, muchos, cuatro osos en modelos. Un puma, dientes de sable, pecari, otros perezosos. Tenemos 3 perezosos en este modelo. Dientes de sable. Okay, let's go to the saber-tooth. Saber-tooth. Yeah. Our favorite. He's the guard, watching over everything else. Give the view that he's looking at. Swing behind him and look down. We did that the other day. And then zoom back and you see what he sees. He's watching over Naya. He's the guard. In fact, his spirit sitting there on the wall saw her fall in. He's much older than she is. So he's on the hill and she's over in the distance. Those little tiny orange dots at the top of the screen. And directly below him is our new species of giant ground sloth. Right here. Again, swim through. That's fun. It's really fun to go through the pelvis. See? Pretending you're being born as a baby ground sloth.
And we can show this as well.
What are we looking at here? Oh, the mandible, yes.
Yeah.
And we have...
I think we can see where is this here.
Right. Oh my, you've got this all over.
So this we actually imaged outside of the water after recovery, and we just put it back in.
Y es importante también reconocer que hay unos softwares que existen, pero otros han sido desarrollados por BID y su grupo de compañeros de trabajo justamente para Hoyo Negro, ¿no? Entonces es una tecnología muy sofisticada que la estamos aplicando antes de recuperar cualquier objeto, lo cual permite preparar la recuperación de una manera muy cuidadosa, muy precisa. Y el ejemplo que dio antes el doctor Chatters de ese fémur que estaba fracturado, tenía líneas de fractura claramente visibles en este modelo, no las habían visto los buzos y al recogerlo se llevaron la sorpresa de que estaba fracturado. Pero el modelo nos ayuda para prepararnos para la recuperación precisa, sistemática. O sea, son las nuevas tecnologías aplicadas a la arqueología subacuática.
Oh, I don't. Yeah. So if no one wants to see anything, you can come and ask me anything afterwards. Yeah, I apologize for boring you with my talk. It's just, I think that seeing and hearing Jim and Pilar talk about it is more fun than my musings. But no, I was just.
For you, but we like hearing what you're saying about it.
No, but I was just showing the.
Now, see, here's the thing too. Look at this. Zoom in on the model real quick.
Okay.
At the front,
Yeah.
which is on the right.
Yeah.
See the cracks?
Tigre, dientes de sable.
Dientes de sable. See the cracks right here? No, I'm gonna walk over to
Okay,
it.
where is it?
This is too easy. Right there.
Okay.
We warned the divers that was cracked and might break off when it came out. So show us the real thing now. Again,
Hold on, wrong way.
other way.
There we go.
There's that crack right there. Because we could see that it was prepared and he had a little cup there, we now have that piece as one fragment, and it will simply be put back on. So,
I keep losing it. There we go.
and now, even though we have collected this, and he's going to become a permanent member of the collection in Mexico City, he's still on the wall. In virtual reality, he's always going to be there. And very few of us will ever see the site itself, but all of us can see him on the wall in virtual reality. So,
And we can replace the in situ model with the one afterwards, and perhaps see comparisons whether any cracking actually did happen and when anything
that's
fell
true.
away or shrank
Yes.
or
Yes.
whatnot. But yeah.
So we have the scientific value of it, but we also have the visual value of the tableau that it creates permanently. Okay.
Sí.
Bueno, pues muchísimas
Gracias.
gracias al público por su asistencia, a Vid y a Jean por estar aquí. Y la licenciada Zamora tiene un mensaje que darnos.
Ahorita que terminemos la sesión con INAH, o sea, nos despedimos y ahora se la
Ok. Y aprovechemos.